My family called me strong. They manipulated me with pity and deception. But when I stopped, their world collapsed. I guess the real breaking point wasn't as dramatic as I always thought it would be. It wasn't some screaming match or a slammed door. It was me sitting on the grimy bathroom floor at the clinic, head between my knees, trying not to puke from exhaustion, the fluorescent lights flickering above me like some sick joke. I remember thinking I just needed 5 more minutes and I'd get through the day. Just 5. Except 5 minutes turned into the floor tilting sideways and someone yelling my name. And next thing I knew I was in the ER, hooked up to an 4, heart monitor beeping way too loud, nurse asking me questions I couldn't focus on, the world spinning in that heavy, numb way it does when you realize your body's been giving you warning signs for weeks and you've been too busy covering other people's bills to listen. I don't even remember who called 911, maybe one of the kids' parents, maybe a coworker. Doesn't matter. What mattered was when I finally managed to grab my phone, hands shaking, still sweaty from God knows what. My inbox was dead silent except for Kyle, always Kyle. Hey, when's the next car payment going through? Dealers being a dick, like clockwork. No, how are you, sis? No, heard you collapsed. Just straight to business. And that was it. That was the exact moment something inside me cracked. Not loud, not violent, more like a quiet click, like a light switch flipping off in a room you didn't even know was still on. I just stared at the text, the nurse hovering asking if I had anyone to call. I almost laughed, like really laughed, because who the hell was I gonna call? My parents? My parents hadn't called me just to talk in years, unless the mortgage payment bounced, unless mom's emergency dental work came up again, unless dad's water heater decided to die at the worst possible time. I was the 24/7 crisis line, the human emergency fund, and lying there in that hospital bed, for dripping saline into veins that felt hollow. I realized I wasn't their daughter. I was their walking, talking ATM, with a smile slapped on for good measure, and yeah, it should have made me cry. It should have broken me, but all I felt was this emptiness, like someone finally pulled the plug on the last little bit of hope I had left for them. The nurse kept asking if I had someone to call. I told her no, because it was the most honest thing I'd said in years. And when they discharged me a few hours later, I didn't go home. I didn't even want to see the 4 walls of my apartment that I was barely keeping together. I just walked, aimlessly, down the ugly side streets of Columbus, past the payday loan offices, the 24-hour donut shop, the laundromat with the flickering neon sign, and it hit me, this is my life. This is what I've built while carrying their world on my back, a life of gray spaces, of never enough, and no one even asked me if I was okay. I didn't go back to my apartment that night. I wandered until my feet hurt. Ended up in the kind of all-night diner where the smell of burnt coffee hits you in the face the second you walk in. I sat in a cracked vinyl booth with sticky menus, ordered pancakes I couldn't afford, watched drunk college kids laugh like their world wasn't falling apart, and for the first time in forever I let myself feel it, all of it, the exhaustion, the bitterness, the aching hollow inside my chest that never went away. I scrolled through years of texts from Kyle, from mom, from dad, and it was all the same: money, favors, rides, bills, emergencies, and I realized I couldn't remember a single message where they asked how I was actually doing, if I'd eaten, if I was happy, if I was okay, and that thought sat in my stomach heavier than the pancakes. I sat there until the waitress gave me that, "You done yet?" look, paid with my last 20, and walked out into the freezing night air. I stood there on the sidewalk, phone in hand, thumb hovering over my banking app, and I did it. I canceled every auto payment, the mortgage draft, the car loan, the utilities, everything. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone. I felt like I was doing something illegal, like the cops would show up and drag me back home. But no one came, no one noticed, and that scared me more than anything. I walked home in the dark, every block feeling longer than the last, and when I finally stepped into my shoebox apartment, I collapsed onto the floor, phone still in my hand, breathing like I'd just run a marathon. I sat there in the dark, knees to my chest, listening to the silence, no buzzing, no demands, no fake emergencies, and it was the first time my phone had been quiet in years. I should have felt relief, right? But instead it was this cold, creeping dread, like I'd finally cut the rope tethering me to them and now I was just floating, alone, no one to catch me, no one to tell me what to do, and I realized I didn't even know what I wanted anymore. Not really. I'd been so busy running their errands, fixing their chaos. I never made space for my own life, my own voice. And that was the scariest part, not the money, not the fallout, but the fact that I'd let it get this far. I lay on the floor all night, phone still clutched in my hand like some pathetic security blanket, and by the time the sun came up, I made myself one quiet promise: no matter what they threw at me next, I wasn't going back. not ever. It didn't take long for them to notice, maybe 2-3 days. The first voicemail came from Dad, his usual fake calm voice barely covering the panic under it. "Hey, Elena, we're getting some notices about the mortgage. Just a mix-up, I'm sure. Let me know when you can send the payment." Like nothing had changed, like I hadn't shut the door in their faces. I didn't answer. Then came Kyle, pissed, demanding, calling me selfish, saying the dealership's on his ass, that I was messing with his life. And then, when I ignored him too, the big guns arrived. Mom called crying, sobbing so hard I almost didn't recognize her voice. "Elena, I can't breathe, the stress. I think I'm having a heart attack," she gasped. "Please, honey, come home, I need you. If you love me." That one broke something in me, because for all the bullshit, I'm still human, still a daughter, still wired to react when my mom says she might die. I told myself I was just going to check, just to make sure. I drove back to the house I swore I wouldn't set foot in again. The place looked exactly the same. Even the same dead flowers by the porch, except now it felt like a trap. I walked in and there she was, Mom, lying on the couch like a soap opera scene. Tissues everywhere. Kyle pacing like some sad actor. Dad in the kitchen looking helpless. They all played their parts perfectly. I sat on the edge of the couch, asked about the heart attack. Mom whimpered, said the doctor told her it was stress-induced, that if I loved her I wouldn't leave them like this. And like the idiot I still was, I stayed. I made dinner, I cleaned up, I let them pull me back in like nothing had changed, like I hadn't just cut the damn rope. And for a few days I went through the motions, back in the role of family fixer, the good daughter, telling myself they were scared, that maybe they'd finally appreciate me, maybe this time would be different. But deep down I knew I was lying to myself, again, and the final slap came from the most unexpected place. Mrs. Hill, the neighbor, caught me outside taking out the trash, smiled like nothing was wrong. "Glad to see you back, Elena. Your mom was just at the farmer's market Saturday. Said she was finally catching up on sleep now that you're home." I blinked, confused. "She, what?" Mrs. Hill laughed. "Yeah, she looked great. Said you were a blessing, always cleaning up after them. Such a good girl." And in that moment, the last thread of denial in me snapped. Later that night I heard Kyle in the kitchen, on the phone with someone, laughing. "Man, even I bought it, right? She actually thinks Mom's sick. We played her so good." And that was it. No screaming, no fights. I just shut off. Went to my old room, packed a bag in silence. Walked out at 3 a.m., didn't leave a note, didn't even lock the door. I was done. I didn't feel brave when I left. I felt numb, empty, like a ghost walking through a life that wasn't mine anymore. I found a shitty studio apartment downtown, smelled like mildew and desperation. But it was mine, all mine. I bought a second-hand mattress off Facebook Marketplace, a $3 lamp from Goodwill, and my first selfish purchase in years, a stupid teal coffee mug with "Good things take time," printed in chipping gold letters. It wasn't much, but it was mine, and that mattered more than I could put into words. The silence in that apartment was so loud it made my ears ring at night. No text, no guilt trips, for a while at least, because of course they didn't stay quiet forever. It started small, emails from Mom. "We're worried about you, sweetie. This isn't you, you're better than this." Then Dad, "Your mother's health is failing, your brother's struggling, you can't just abandon us." Then the cousins chimed in. Facebook messages dripping in passive-aggressive pity. "You know, family's all we have, Elena. You're breaking their hearts." I ignored them all. I blocked numbers, deleted emails, but they always found a way back. Kyle tried the hard route, left a voicemail screaming that I was a cold-hearted bitch, that I was destroying the family, that I'd regret this when they were gone. Maybe I would, maybe part of me still wanted to, but I didn't call back. I sat in my tiny apartment, drinking instant coffee from my dumb teal mug, staring at the cracked wall, and I realized I didn't miss them. I missed the version of them I'd made up in my head, the family that never existed, the one I told myself I had. I wrote one email, cold, clean, factual, send it to all of them. "This is not up for discussion. Here are the facts. I am not your fixer. I am not your emergency fund. I am not your hostage. I am not responsible for your poor choices. I am not your daughter anymore. At least not the way you want me to be. Do not contact me again." I hit send, blocked everyone, sat in the dark until my coffee went cold, and for the first time in my life, the silence felt like peace, not punishment. It wasn't even 2 weeks after I cut them off when Kyle called me from a blocked number. I knew it was him the second I heard the rage in his voice. He didn't even say hello, just went straight into screaming. "You think you're so smart? You think you can just walk away and nothing will happen? You know what happened today, Elena?" I watched them take my car, I watched them put it on the fucking tow truck. I ran after them, you know that? 3 goddamn blocks. I ran barefoot, and they still took it. And you know what was in that car? My laptop, my beats, my life. You ruined it. You did this to me. He was breathing like an animal, and I just sat there on my crappy futon, phone to my ear, listening, not saying a word, because what was there to say? He wasn't calling to talk. He was calling to blame, to unload, and he wasn't done. You think the world's gonna protect you, Elena? You think you can just walk away and karma won't find you? Guess what, sis? When your life falls apart, and it will, I'll be the first one laughing. And then he hung up, just like that, left me holding the phone like a ticking bomb. I sat there for a long time, heart pounding, hands shaking, and then, nothing, no tears, no panic, just this weird, calm detachment, like watching a train wreck in slow motion. And the funny part? The world didn't fall apart for me, not like he said it would. In fact, it got better, a lot better. It turned out that without their bills draining my account like a leech, I actually made decent money. I hadn't realized how much I'd been suffocating under their weight until I wasn't. For the first time in my adult life, I had breathing room, space to think, to feel, to want things, stupid things maybe, but they were mine. I started making a list of little luxuries I used to shove so deep down. I forgot they existed: a new mattress that didn't sink in the middle, noise-canceling headphones, electric kettle that boiled in 30 seconds, and yeah, maybe it was petty, but I bought them all. Every little thing that used to feel like an impossible dream, I bought them for me, just me. And when I sat in my tiny studio apartment drinking overpriced loose-leaf tea out of my dumb teal mug, I felt like a queen. Like I finally owned my life for the first time, and it was small, yeah, but it was mine, and no one, not Kyle, not my parents, not their pitying relatives, could take that from me anymore. It took a little longer for the rest of their world to crumble. The foreclosure notices started showing up after about 3 months. Lisa from work sent me a photo she took driving past the old neighborhood. Big orange notice taped to the front door. Dad tried to keep the lights on by selling whatever was left of Mom's jewelry. But it was too late. The whispers started from the extended family too. Did you hear about Rick and Marjorie? Such a shame. Poor things. After everything they did for that ungrateful daughter of theirs. Yeah, they played that card hard. I ignored it all. But the one thing I couldn't ignore was when Dad showed up at my clinic. Like, actually showed up, in the parking lot, waited by my car, looking like a shell of the man I grew up with. I almost didn't recognize him. He looked small, worn, desperate. He tried to act calm. Elena, can we talk? I didn't want to, everything in me screamed no. But I stood there, arms crossed, leaning against my car, letting him talk. He tried the soft route first, told me Mom was sick again, told me Kyle was lost, told me they were about to lose the house. We need you, sweetheart. You're the only one who can fix this. I stared at him, really stared, and for the first time I saw him for what he was. Not a monster. Not some villain from a movie, just a man who never learned to clean up his own mess. And I wasn't going to be the one to save him this time. I said it quietly. You raised me to fix your messes, Dad, but I'm done cleaning up after you. He blinked like he couldn't process the words, like I'd spoken in another language. And then he did what they always do when the charm failed. He got angry, started raising his voice, called me selfish, cold, ungrateful, told me I'd regret this, that family was forever, that blood was everything. I just shook my head, opened my car door, sat down, and before I shut it I looked at him one last time. You're right about one thing, Dad, blood is forever, but loyalty isn't. And then I drove away, left him standing there in the parking lot like a man watching a ship sail away he didn't know how to swim to, and I didn't feel powerful, or brave, or victorious. I just felt done, really, finally done. It was almost poetic how the house went down. After months of ignoring foreclosure notices, pretending everything was fine, the day finally came when the bank sent the crew. I didn't hear it from them, of course. I heard it from Instagram. Of all places, my 15-year-old cousin Brianna was live-streaming the whole thing like it was some family drama special, supporting Aunt Marjorie and Uncle Rick today. Can't believe the bank's doing this. The video showed the front yard packed with relatives, cousins I hadn't seen in years, aunts, uncles, all gathered like they were at a wake, hugging, crying, acting like the world ended. But not one of them pulled out a checkbook, not one of them offered to help. They just filmed themselves comforting my parents, talking about how unfair it was, how cruel I was for abandoning them when they needed me most. And I watched it all from the break room at work, sound off, just reading the comments, watching the movers carry out the last of the furniture, some teenage kid filming as if it was entertainment. And the thing that shocked me most? It wasn't the theatrics, it wasn't the crocodile tears, it was the fact that deep down, in the pit of my stomach. I liked it. I know that makes me a terrible person, but watching them finally face the consequences of their own bullshit after years of dumping it on me, it felt good, like this dirty little victory no one would ever give me credit for. I closed the app, put my phone face down, sat there in the silence of the break room, and for once, I didn't feel guilty, not really, maybe a little shame, sure, but not enough to drown out the relief. They were finally out of that house, the house that always felt like a prison to me, and now? Now it was someone else's problem. I didn't call them, didn't message Brianna, didn't engage at all. I just sat there, sipped my overpriced coffee, and let myself feel it, the ugly, messy, human satisfaction of seeing the people who broke me finally break themselves, and I didn't apologize for it. Turns out the family boycott was the best thing that ever happened to me. One by one the aunts, uncles, cousins blocked me, cut me out of group chats, unfollowed me on Facebook, like I was some kind of contagious virus, and honestly, thank you, really, because the silence was beautiful, peaceful, like someone finally turned off the static. The only person I kept in touch with was Maddie, the cousin they all pretended didn't exist, the one who always rolled her eyes at family dinners. We started talking more, laughing about how ridiculous it all was, and it was through her that I got the best update yet. Apparently after the house was gone and the pity party dried up, Mom and Dad had to do the unthinkable. They had to work. Actual jobs, Dad on night shifts in some warehouse, Mom answering phones for a dentist, Kyle, construction site grunt, carrying heavy shit for the first time in his life. They ended up renting a damp basement apartment on the bad side of town, riding the bus, complaining to anyone who'd listen about the filthy city, the mold in their walls, the rude clerks at the market. And Maddie sent me screenshots from Kyle's whiny Facebook posts, all in the tone of, look what life did to us. And I'll admit it, when I read them, I smiled. Not because I wanted them to suffer, but because for the first time they were living the life they always told me I was too weak to handle. They became ordinary people, the kind of people they used to sneer at, and the irony of it all? It felt like closure, like the door slammed shut and locked from my side. And as I sat in my quiet little apartment, sipping coffee from my chipped teal mug, scrolling through Maddie's messages, I realized something even deeper. It was over, the nightmare, the wait, the endless performance of being the good daughter, the fixer, the wallet. It was all in the past now, like a bad dream you wake up from and can't believe you lived through. And the freedom of that hit me in the softest, sweetest way. I could call in sick if I wanted, I could take a long lunch, buy overpriced candles, plan a weekend trip without asking anyone's permission, pay my rent and still have money for dessert, and that tiny, ordinary joy? That was the real win, not revenge, not making them suffer, just living, breathing, knowing I didn't owe them, or anyone, anything ever again. Subscribe, hit the like button, and explore more fascinating stories.